Alright, so exceptions. When I was a beginner, the one concept I could never really wrap my head around was, you guessed it, exceptions. Everything about it felt really weird, and at times it made me feel like maybe I'm not cut out to be a programmer after all. But as time went on, I realized that exceptions are not so bad. They're not nearly as complicated as some of the other topics we tackled in our high schools, like calculus or quantum physics. Okay, maybe we didn't tackle quantum physics in our high school, but you get the point, right? Exceptions are not complicated at all. The problem was, I never really could find any good resources that resonated with beginners. Everything I found online were a bunch of academic papers written by computer scientists to be read by other computer scientists. Hence, I decided to make this video and condense everything I have learned about exceptions in the past 12 years in such a way that anyone can understand this concept of exceptions, not just the scientists and researchers. My hope is, after watching this video, you will be able to answer questions like, what are exceptions? Why do they really occur? And what is their place in the programming world? Excited to get started? Let's get to it. Let's start by exploring the question, what is an exception? Let's try Googling it, shall we? Okay, according to Google, exception is a person or thing that is excluded from a general statement or does not follow a rule. Okay, that sounds way too nerdy. Let's break it down. Let's see an example. Let's say you were asked to come to the class exactly at 2 p.m. All of your classmates reach the class at 2 p.m. and you reach the class by 2:05. In other words, everybody in your class followed the rule except you, and that makes you the exception. So in simple words, exceptions are nothing but rule breakers. Okay, when you say it like that, exceptions sound like a really bad thing, but they don't always have to be. For example, when we say somebody is exceptional, we usually mean that they were able to achieve something that nobody else could. For example, straight A students are exceptional because their grades stand out as compared to the average grade of others in the school. Here you can say the rule is nobody can get straight A's easily, and the exception is somebody who actually got straight A's. At this point, you might be thinking, what does any of these have to do with computer programming? Stay with me, we are getting there. Let's open up the Python prompt. Let's say I want to multiply the number 100 by 2. I give the input like this and I get the output of 200. Now, what happened in the background was the computer looked up the rule to multiply numbers. It sees that the input is 100 and 2, so it basically adds 100 with another 100 and it gives out the output 200. Now let's say I want to divide the number 100 by 2. Again, just like in the previous case, the computer goes ahead and looks up the rule on how to divide numbers. Then it performs the steps necessary and it gives out the result 50. Alright, so far so good. Now let's say I want to divide the number 100 by the number 0. And we ran into an exception. So what happened here? Should we not get the result infinity? Why did we run into an exception? This is because according to the official rule of math, you cannot divide a number by 0. If you look up the rule for dividing a number by 0 in Wikipedia, it says division by 0 is undefined, which basically means math has no clearly defined rule to divide a number by 0. But our computers can only do stuff which are clearly defined. And hence, in this case, our Python interpreter didn't know what to do with the inputs given. In other words, the inputs we gave Python broke the rule of mathematics. And what happens if you break rules? You get an exception. Alright, let's take a look at another simpler example without any mathematics involved. Here I store 5 in the variable x and I store 10 in the variable y. And when I add them both, I get 15. Now let's do another calculation. Now this time I'm multiplying x and y. Again, as expected, I get 50 this time. Okay, now let's add x and a. Oops, we ran into an error. What happened here? In the previous cases, when we wanted to do something with x and y, the Python interpreter looked up what values are stored in those variables and it did the calculation for us. But in this case, we actually haven't defined what a is. So the Python interpreter didn't actually know what to do with that instruction we gave it, which is x plus a, and it stopped with this error message. It's basically like asking a calculator to print out a Word document on a piece of paper. I mean, a calculator is not a printer, so obviously it'll just stand there complaining, I don't know what to do next. So basically, when a program crashes with an exception, it means that the computer does not know how to proceed. And what can it do when it does not know how to proceed? The only thing it can do is stand there and complain. It can't just say, hey, I don't know what to do, please check your code. But then, that won't be very useful to us. I mean, we already know that there is a problem, but we need to know where the problem is and what the problem is so that we can go ahead and fix the issue. And that's the reason behind this big wall of text. Actually, there's a proper way to use this error message and all the clues it contains to debug our code. And that is covered in another video which you can find right here. So to summarize, exceptions are rule breakers. And when you break a rule, the computer does not know how to proceed, and hence it simply stops the execution of our code and gives out this error message. And these error messages contain a bunch of clues to help us figure out what rule we broke so that we can go back and fix our code. Alright, with that being said, I will stop this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did and you wish to support us, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you want to learn more about exceptions, we have plenty of articles on our website embeddedinventor.com. So head over there for some interesting articles. You can find the link in the description. Alright, I will see you in the next one.